Welcome in, guys. It's Brad with College SportsCast. I have John Roberts, aka Drink Local Beham, with me, and we are here to do Week 11 College SportsCast, the weekend wrap-up show.
We executed.
I heard a fan offer free Dippin' Dots if I blew it.
Wanted to have some fun, execute.
I had bombs.
Stay as a team, execute, give 100%.
Dippin' Dots sound good.
All right, guys, welcome back. It's Brad with College SportsCast. What's up, John Roberts?
Oh, not a whole lot. What's happening with you?
Oh, just here to wrap up the college sports for the weekend here. So a lot of football news is coming out this morning, it seems like. Started real early this morning and was a little bit of a surprise, I have to say.
Slightly. Yeah.
So, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock this morning. I don't know. It was early. News broke that Jimbo Fisher is fired at Texas A&M. I found it a little strange just because he's coming off of a massive win against Mississippi State yesterday.
So the absolute best he can do this season is 8-4 because he's 6-4 right now with 2 wins to go.
Right.
Or two games to go. So the absolute best he could do is 8-4. Most likely he's going to be 7-5 because he's going to play LSU the last game of the season.
LSU
and unlike last year where I was calling for the A&M victory in this game, I will immediately right now be calling for the A&M loss. And even before this news, I was that was what my my prediction was going to be, and I think I'm going to stick with it. So I just thought last year it would be
was a little
for A&M to win it, and they ended up winning it. Well,
I mean,
I think it's
a win.
Yeah,
you would think if he was going to get fired, he would have got fired last week, coming off of a loss.
Well, it makes it looks better doing that, but in all honesty, I mean, when you're looking at it, they've probably been meeting about this for a while. This just happened to be the week. They have probably gone through back channels. I would hope that they already have their guy lined up, because if they don't, this is going to be an epic search.
I seen you in a conversation and y'all were talking about who's going to replace him and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happened, so I have no idea. But I will say this. It's Texas A&M. It's a pretty I think it's a pretty eye-opening good job that a lot of people would want.
Well, yes, but you also, just like the Auburn job, have a lot of things that you have to come with it. So, are coaches happy with their current situation? Are they happy with their current situation, or are they looking to gain that? Are they good with having the massive financial gain and also have all the stipulations that come with it? So I think that is the main thing right now. It's just,
if you're a coach and they offer you a chance to come in there and interview or whatever, I mean, you have to think about it. I don't care who you are.
Well,
really.
I didn't say you're not thinking about it. I didn't say you're not thinking about it. I just said that there are still reservations for that school as far as being a head coach in that school, and it comes not necessarily with the on the field product, but with everything that comes with it. So, because everybody that has money,
world, some of that would be effective.
say what?
In the NIL world, I would think some of that would be attractive.
Yes, some of it is.
Off the field stuff that
Again, that money that they give for NIL comes with a lot of stipulations. Okay, and it just depends on how much of the how much power are you willing to give up, because you probably aren't going to have a whole lot.
I'm just saying, I wanted to throw that out there, but the last thing I want to say before we move on to some other news, because there's been quite a bit of news that has happened this morning in the college football world. They are paying him almost $77 million to go away, to hit the door.
Yes.
I mean, I just want to put that out there. That is an absolute insane number. And I don't know how schools can give out these massive contracts and continue to do that.
Because the school itself is not who's on the hook. It's the donors. The donors are the ones that are on the hook, and it's the ones that are billionaire oil money is where it's coming from. So we don't have to really worry about it. The money's there.
It's insane, though. That's insane. These contracts by these schools that are being given out, that's 10, 12 years for 100, 115 million, and all this crap that's going on right now is this right here. If you're not a school that has the donors of oil companies backing you up, this ought to be an eye-opening experience right here, is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, what's going to happen here is, look, they probably are going to scale back. They're probably not going to offer another Jimbo, Fisher contract. Okay, they're not going to offer the next person the exact same contract. Correct. Unless they go out and they go get like Nick Saban or something like that, which again, not going to do that. Or if they go buy Kirby Smart, okay, they go get Kirby Smart and they offer that guy, whatever in the heck that he wants, the entire bank, because they bought the bank, whatever. But obviously that's not the guy they're going to get, because Kirby's going to tell him, he's staying right where he's at. Okay. But
I get it. Yeah.
But they're not going to offer the same kind of thing, because first of all, there's only a handful of, I believe, coaches that have won a national championship. Jimbo Fisher is one of them. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Dabo Swinney's one, but he's not necessarily in the news for good as far as his coaching and everything like that, because I mean, he's kind of against NIL, which is what Texas A&M is going to be really good at, right? They're really good at buying players.
He would not be a good fit at Texas A&M.
Right. And probably the fact that he would have to allow them to do whatever it is that they want to do, I don't think he wants to do that. So that's going to be a big no for Dabo, right? So Mac Brown is a national championship winning coach, but I mean, he's so old. He's coached at Texas, and he's finishing. I mean, like he's finishing up basically his career.
Years.
Yeah, he's finishing up his career at North Carolina, which is where he got his big jump start, at the beginning of his career. So it's kind of storybook ending. He's going out in North Carolina. Like I said, you've got Saban. Dan Mullen's. Well, no, Dan Mullen's was a coordinator was a coordinator. So you've got
he didn't win it as a head coach.
Right. No, he never won it as a head coach, but he did win it as a coordinator under
I mean, they could always go out and get the ex-LSU coach.
The what?
Ed. They could get Ed.
They could go get Ed. Yeah, you could go
Orgeron.
and
they could go get Ed Orgeron.
Right.
He's
you
a
could go get
championship coach.
Yeah, Gene Chizik is a national championship winning coach. He's over there, at North Carolina as well. Under playing the defensive coordinator over there, but the defense hasn't been all that great. You could go get Urban Meyer. He's not doing anything right now. other
Yeah,
than
Urban Meyer
being on
was still
Fox
out
Sports in
there.
the morning,
Yeah.
but that's not, again, his name's been kind of dragged through the mud because there's a lot of stuff that's happened under his watch that ain't been pretty good, so I don't know if Texas A&M wants to deal with Urban Meyer as much as Urban Meyer wants to deal with Texas
There's a
A&M.
bunch of different names, and
But like I
there's a
said,
bunch of different names. We'll get to like who we think
right.
it might be, but
the
there's
point,
a whole bunch of stuff that I really wanted to
the whole
run
point,
through.
what I was saying is that those are the ones that are going to be the ones that garner the contract being as high because they've won a national championship. Okay, there isn't going to be a coach for the most part.
I don't think
unless they get one
I
of
just don't
a
think it's
handful
gonna
of
be
names that will have ever won a national championship at the FBS level. Okay, so that means that the contract is going to be a lot less. It's going to be less. The buyout's probably going to be less unless somehow he's got the same, whoever the new head coach has the exact same representation that Jimbo Fisher has, which I believe is probably Jimmy Sexton, if I had to guess. If it's not, then whatever. But still, the contract's not going to be that big. It's not going to be as big. How about that? So they're gonna watch their spending, and I think a lot of other schools will watch their spending as well, being unproven head coaches or only on groups that
They
aren't.
should. That was my whole point. Is that it's an insane number, and that these schools absolutely should watch their spending. Texas A&M might have oil money to back them up, and they may be okay. However, most schools are not in that situation. Now, I'm going to move on from that because there's a bunch of stuff. Penn State fired their offensive coordinator this morning. Boise State fired their head coach this morning after going 10-4 last year.
I know a coach that could go to Boise State
this year. They fired him this morning,
and he's had success there. I know a coach that's done it.
Year, he's like 22-14 or something. His record is at Boise State before the end of his third year, and he got fired this morning.
Yeah.
One of the top recruits that Colorado has decommitted this morning. His name is Watkins. He's a wide receiver, and he decommitted from Colorado this morning, stating that they didn't look good enough on the field, basically. So I thought
is he any relation to Sammy?
Noteworthy.
Huh?
I don't know. I didn't look. I don't know. He's a receiver, and his name is Watkins. I do know that.
Just wondering, based on the conversations in the track, in our thread that we've been in.
He may be. I really don't know. I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Texas running back Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL yesterday and is out. They do have a 5-star freshman as a backup. So, I mean, they'll probably be okay. They got Baxter, who's a 5-star freshman, as a backup. But losing Brooks, who is a 1,200-yard rusher in 10 games, is a big loss for Texas. So those are some of the news
also
that I had.
Also with the firing of Jimbo Fisher, I believe the 4-star wide receiver, maybe I'll have to take a look. 4-star player Cam Coleman, who had recently committed to Texas A&M, has not fully decommitted. He says he's committed, but he's opened his recruitment back up. And Auburn was one of the top schools in that one. Also, I believe Auburn has flipped another player from Florida. So
they did. They flipped. That was yesterday, maybe. They flipped a player.
Yeah.
which was kind of odd. It was on game day, I think, that
Yep.
it was announced, I believe. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Which was kind of odd, I thought, but because most of the time you don't hear that on a game day.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get to our full college football scoreboard for week 11. And I'll start it out here. Again, the week starts on Tuesday. This past Tuesday, we had Ball State beating NIU, Northern Illinois 20-17. Western Michigan beat Central Michigan 38-28. Ohio beat Buffalo 20-10. On Wednesday, Miami, Ohio beat Akron 19-0. Bowling Green beat Kent 49-19. And Toledo beat Eastern Michigan 49-23 in some MAC action on Wednesday night. Thursday night, we saw Louisville have to come back and survive at home against Virginia 31-24. They were down late, fourth quarter, I believe, in that game, a touchdown, and scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to win. Southern Miss beat Louisiana Monroe 34-31 in an overtime on Thursday night. And Friday night scores are SMU 45, Northern Texas 21. UNLV beat Wyoming, who Wyoming's a pretty good team. UNLV beat them 34-14. They have a first-year coach by the name of Barry Odom. Is the old Missouri coach, by the way, that won and went to the SEC championship game a couple of years when he was at Missouri. He's in his first year, and he's
that was not
8-2.
Barry Odom as the head coach at Missouri when they went to the championship for 2 years in a row. He came after that.
You sure he wasn't there in?
He was not the head. He was not the head coach.
No?
I think he may have been on the staff, but he was not the head coach.
Okay, well maybe he wasn't. I was thinking he was the head coach those years. I didn't look it up.
I think he was he may have either been a D line or D coordinator during that time, but he was not.
I think he was there.
The head coach. Well, yeah, like I said, I think he's on staff. Okay. I just don't think he was.
I might be wrong. How about this? I was going off.
How about memory. This? I know he was not the head coach. He may have been on staff.
I was going off memory, and I could be wrong on that.
No, they had a long-time head coach that retired after the 2014 season. So the guy that had been with them for a long time when they had made those runs in the early 2000s.
Was Drinkwitz the one that was hired after Odom?
Yeah, Drinkwitz was after. So
hired after Odom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I know this because again, Auburn played him in 2013, so it wasn't him.
Well, I mean, Kentucky played him too, but I don't remember that far back. Okay.
Yeah. It was only 10 years. Come on.
Okay. My memory's not that great. Okay.
I got it.
All right. My memory's not that great. All right. So, All right. So, the Saturday scores: Alabama beat UK 49-21. Michigan beat Penn State 24-15. Texas Tech beat Kansas in Lawrence 16-13. Tulane barely survived against Tulsa 24-22. Tulane's only got the one loss against Mississippi early this year. Army beat Holy Cross 17-14. Illinois beat Indiana in overtime 48-45. Maryland beats Nebraska in Lincoln 13-10. South Carolina spanked Vandy 47-6. Virginia Tech beat Boston College 48-22. Clemson beat Georgia Tech 42-21. South Florida beat Temple 27-23. Liberty 38, Old Dominion 10. Arizona won their, I think, fifth straight game in a row, beat Colorado in Boulder 34-31. Last second
Colorado
field
tried.
goal, actually.
Yeah, I was about to say Colorado
Yeah,
tried.
it was a last second field goal, actually, that won that game. James Madison clobbered UConn 44-6. NC State beats Wake at Wake 26-6. Memphis won 44-38. Who is that they played? You got it pulled up?
Charlotte.
It's abbreviated for me. They got
Charlotte.
Charlotte abbreviated CLT. Now, how am I supposed to know that that's Charlotte?
It's Charlotte.
Okay. CLT. That's Charlotte, by the way. Memphis beat Charlotte 44-38 in OT. App State beat Georgia State 42-14. Troy beat Louisiana Monroe 45-14. Kansas State beat Baylor 59-24 or 25. That was a pretty big win for them. Sam Houston State beat Louisiana Tech 42-27. Utah State beat Nevada 41-24. FSU at home kind of had to survive against Miami 27-20. They did have a 2-touchdown lead, but they, let them score kind of late. And then they had the ball again, and their quarterback got hurt, late in that game. So it was not the kind of game that I was expecting from Florida State, just to be honest with you. Washington beat Utah 35-28. And I just want to say this. They held them scoreless in the second half. The score was 28-24 at halftime. Utah was ahead. And they scored them scoreless in the second half.
While scoring only 11.
Mizzou.
And they should have scored more.
Yeah. Missouri demolished Tennessee 36-7. And Schrader shredded Tennessee. He is the first college football player ever, I do believe, from what I've seen, to have over 200 yards rushing and 100 yards receiving.
Yeah, I think that was the record that he had. That was the record he got. So,
which is kind of insane. I mean, he absolutely shredded Tennessee.
He did.
I mean, so I was surprised to see Tennessee only score 7 points. When's the last time a Josh Heupel team scored 7 points? Maybe never.
I believe that's the first time.
I said
I'm
maybe
pretty
never.
certain. Yeah, because I think he hasn't. I don't think he's had a team that's gone under 10 or 14 ever.
Yeah.
And then that happened. So
UCF demolishes Oklahoma State after them beating Oklahoma last week 45-3. I mean, what an embarrassing score that is. Look at Iowa blanks Rutgers 22-0. I think that actually wraps up the division, the Big Ten West for Iowa. I think they are the Big Ten West winners now. They're 8-2, and there is nobody above 500 in that division. You hear what I just said?
I did.
Nobody.
That game
above 500.
That game, the line was 27.5. That's the lowest line prior to a game, and I think since like the early 90s, maybe something like that. And that line was 27.5. and they still went under because the only scoring was Iowa, and they only scored 22.
Rutgers didn't score at all,
and they
right?
had the ball inside the 5-yard line and took a knee instead of knocking it in and hitting the over
And going over. Yeah.
by themselves,
Over.
because they
Yeah.
obviously would have been the only ones that were scoring, so
Right.
they would have hit the over by themselves. I blame Rutgers for
just
not
saying-
scoring one touchdown, and that
That division
pisses me off.
is terrible.
Oh, I
That
know.
division is terrible.
Yeah, they
terrible.
don't need to have divisions in that.
The Big Ten, people talk about the Big Ten and they want recognition and all this stuff. There is 4 teams in the Big Ten above a 6-4 record.
3 of them
teams, that's
sit right next to it, like we're duking it out for the college football playoffs. Obviously, one just got eliminated.
Iowa is the other. Iowa's 8-2.
Right.
And then you have, of course, Penn State, Michigan State, Ohio State.
No. Penn State, Michigan, not Michigan State. Let's get the record straight. Michigan State sucks. They're terrible.
Everybody knows that I meant Michigan. Nobody thinks that I meant Michigan State.
I don't know, man. Look, some weird people out
come
there.
on.
I don't know. People are going to be out there and they're going to be like, "Hey, he said Michigan State. He's a terrible sports person. He does not know what he's doing. He has nothing."
There's a total slip of the tongue. I didn't mean Michigan State. All right, I'm going to finish up the college football scoreboard. I got MTSU over Florida International 40-6. Purdue over Minnesota 49-30. Northwestern beat Wisconsin 24-10. What is going on with Luke Fickell is what I want to know. Like, they are terrible, and people thought they were going to be like 9-3 and had them in the top 25.
Northwestern is 5-5. They're 5-5 with the chance to be bowl eligible in the next 2 weeks. All they got to do is win one of the next 2.
What happened to them? Yeah,
that's right. They are 5-5.
New Mexico State beat Western Kentucky yesterday, 38-29. I don't know what's going on with Western. Syracuse beat Pitt, 28-13. Navy beat UAB, 31-6. I want to pause right there. What's the sense with UAB in Trent Dilfer?
There are a lot of people that are not really too crazy about him right now. I mean, it's his first ever coaching job.
I know.
College, pro, anything. And it's a head coaching job because of his name. So
I know. But you're right there, and you're right in that neighborhood.
There's a lot of people that are not too thrilled with him. They do not like him. They didn't like him when they didn't like the hire before the game. They didn't like the hire before the season, and now as the season's going, they're really, really not liking it. So,
I just thought I'd pause real quick and ask you. So Coastal Carolina beat Texas State 31-23. Auburn demolished Arkansas 48-10.
Should have been worse. Should have been worse. He threw a pick. He threw a pick.
There's no way. I mean, okay, if you're watching the game, you can probably say it should have been worse, but there's no way that Auburn should have been able to come into their stadium and beat them like that.
Yeah, there's actually a
Sam Pittman's job has to be over.
It's pretty simple. Auburn decided to run up tempo. It threw off whatever Sam Pittman thought they were going to be doing. They hit a couple of passes. They dropped still too many. They dropped way too many passes.
I'm sorry though, that's inexcusable.
And they had that. They take the opening drive. 75 yards, score a touchdown. They get a 3-and-out and then take the punt back for a touchdown. So that right there puts them up 14-0. And the Arkansas has only had the ball for 3 plays. 3 offensive plays, and they're down 14 to
That's
nothing.
exactly what
Okay?
happened in Kentucky game too with Alabama,
Right.
by the way. So.
Then Arkansas runs 3 more plays, and Auburn drives down and scores a touchdown. Arkansas runs 3 more plays, and Auburn is driving down
Kentucky
to score a
ran
touchdown,
4 plays.
and they threw a pick that got returned 41 yards. Arkansas runs 3 more plays, but because they were already in field goal range, they kicked the field goal. Okay. So again, there's a trend. They ran 3 plays, then they ran 3 plays, and then they ran 3 plays, and it just kept going on and on and
I got
on.
I'm
Auburn's
saying
defense
to
is not
you
bad.
as a coach,
Auburn's defense is not a bad
with
defense.
what it did yesterday, that's inexcusable at home. I'm sorry, that's inexcusable at home. Auburn
Just
is
returning
not
the
on that
favor.
level this year.
Just returning the favor.
If this was
They
Auburn,
did it to Auburn
3
last
years
year.
ago or whatever.
3 years
that's
ago?
Inexcusable.
3 years ago, Auburn beat the ever living pants off of them.
I said if that was 3 years ago, I would say okay. Not this team. Sam Pittman, you can't let them come in and do
Auburn.
that.
Auburn was returning. Auburn was returning the favor from last year when Sam Pittman's team came in and beat the pants off of them, which sent Brian Harsin packing because that was the last game he ever coached for Auburn. Yeah. Auburn turned around and returned the favor.
Game that Sam Pittman coaches at Arkansas. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it's a possibility that between today and tomorrow that could easily happen.
It may not happen. That's pitiful. I mean, that's a pitiful performance. Pitiful.
They had Rocket Sanders for a little bit, and then he was out for a little bit, and then he came back, I guess, for a little bit, but he was not full on Rocket Sanders. And KJ was.
California beats Washington State 42-39. That's 6 games in a row that Washington State has lost. East Carolina beat FAU 22-7. Who is this? Some of these abbreviations I can't.
Okay, who are you
South
looking at?
Alabama beats Arkansas State. South Alabama beats Arkansas State 21-14. Oregon State demolishes Stanford 62-17. Georgia demolishes Ole Miss 52-17. Oklahoma demolishes West Virginia at home.
I think there's a trend going on here. Demolish.
Cincinnati. Cincinnati beats Houston 24-14. A little surprising on that score, if you ask me. Marshall beats Georgia Southern 38-33. Colorado State beats San Diego State 22-19. Ohio State beats Michigan State, and I'll get this one right this time. 38-3.
You did it.
Texas survives TCU.
Yeah, they did. Because they had a
26-6.
I was about to say they had like a 3 touchdown lead, and then all of a sudden you look back and it's a 3-point lead.
26-6, I believe, either right at the end of the third quarter or right at the beginning of the fourth.
Right.
And was up 26-6, and they survived 29-26.
They did.
It was at TCU, but they had to survive that game. No kidding. LSU beats Florida 52-35, and let's pause for a Jaden Daniels. What in the world? This kid, man, seriously, Jaden, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this kid had over 600 yards by himself in one football game.
Yes, Jaden
Like
Daniels accounted for
605.
606 yards. He threw for 350
606.
plus.
Okay.
He ran for 220 plus.
372, I think.
Yeah. So you know what? I actually have the stats up here. So Jaden Daniels,
Unbelievable.
he was 17 of 26 for 372 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's a 98.9 QBR, in case you were wondering. He had 12 carries for 234 yards, averaged 19 and a half yards per carry, with 2 touchdowns. So he accounted for 5 touchdowns, had an 85-yard touchdown on early in the game. I think that was the first touchdown in the game, was the 85-yard touchdown that he ran. So he accounted for 606 yards.
He was spectacular. I mean, I don't know if you did not watch that game. If you see a replay of that game this week, watch it just to watch Jaden Daniels. I mean, this kid is unbelievable on the football field. This game,
He is the first player in college, or first quarterback in college history to have a 350 plus yard passing and 200 yard plus rushing. So just like Schrader, who had 200 rushing and 100 receiving.
And 100 receiving.
Yeah. Daniels did something that had never been done before by a quarterback, which was 350 plus passing
200.
350
and 200.
Yeah.
And 606 yards. But I will say this. LSU's defense give up 35 points to Florida, and Florida is not a good football team.
Well, they didn't give up all of that because their offense did turn the ball over, I think, at least once or twice deep in their own territory. So 2 of those scores, or one, if not 2 of them, were off of turnovers. They weren't like, pick 6 or anything like that. It was like, they had a turnover but it was like in the red zone. One of those was a kickoff.
Despite was a kickoff. They playing that way.
Yeah.
Florida stayed in this game.
Yeah. Well, again, one of those was a turnover on a kickoff return when the I guess LSU had gotten a 10-point lead on Florida State. This is one of Florida, and on the kickoff, they score a touchdown. They cut it down to 3 on the kickoff. It hits the return man's hands and bounces like 10, 15 yards in front of him. Florida recovers it. A couple plays later, they score again. They take the lead, and I think that was like, either 28-24 or whatever it was. It was something like that.
They stayed in the game for the longest time.
Right. And then again, LSU goes back up and takes another 10-point lead. I think Florida tries to cut it down by hitting the cutting it to 30, making it 35, and then LSU just runs away with it at that point.
Right. And so the final score was 52-35 in that game.
Right. Yeah.
Texas A&M actually blows out Mississippi State 51-10, and
correct.
Jimbo gets fired, which that's what I was talking about.
Yep.
UTSA beats Rice 34-14. UNC survives in a double overtime at home against Duke, 47-45
rushed the field.
last night.
They beat Duke, and the fans rushed the field. They were 6-3.
Right.
Duke was 6-3 at the time that they got beat. So they're now 6-4, and the fans rushed the field. Right. They rushed the field.
It does still give them an outside chance to make the ACC championship game. They had to win that. If not, Louisville actually clinched the second spot. So it does still give them a chance at it.
Good.
So that was the late last night. Arizona State beats UCLA in Los Angeles, 17-7. Arizona State had like 2 or 3 wins before last night. 2. They're 3-7 now. They were 2-7 and beat a 6-3 UCLA team that's been ranked on one.
Yeah.
That was a surprising score. Boise, who I said fired their coach, actually won yesterday as well. 42-14. Beat New Mexico 42-14. So both of those coaches got fired off of winning games, which is a little strange.
Very
Oregon
strange.
Oregon beats USC 36-27, and we will talk about Bo Nix in just a second. I'm going to finish this up. There's 2 more games. San Jose State beats Fresno 42-18, and Hawaii wins another game. And this is against Air Force,
a team that started out 8-0.
Insane, but I think Air Force.
Or 6-0.
But Air Force is without their quarterback.
Yeah, you skipped a score. Iowa State, BYU. You skipped Iowa State, BYU. It was 45-13 Iowa State. So
Iowa State, yes.
Yep.
I did skip one.
Yep.
You're right. All right. So Oregon, Bo Nix looks really, really, really good. And we said that on our last show, the game day pick'ems that we did, was talking about it, and I was talking about how he kind of picked apart, and I thought that he would do that. And he did, but USC still does score, which 27 is kind of low for them, actually. I mean, I thought Oregon played pretty good defense to hold them to 27.
They did. So,
yeah,
a couple things. One, I think we had a bit of a back and forth about the Oregon versus USC on the being inside the number, and I think the number was 11, 12?
No, it was 15.
Oh yeah, the number was like 15. Yeah, it was 15. And you said that it was going to be that Oregon would win by 15. I think John and I said that it was going to stay. Oregon was going to win the game, but it was going to stay inside the number.
I think in the end, I agreed with you guys on that one.
Yeah, we just said we just told you that it was like, look, Oregon's going to win. We all agreed Oregon was going to win. John and I just sat there and said, look, no, it's going to stay inside the number because while Oregon's defense is good and is better than USC's defense, USC's offense is still good enough to play.
Their defense did hold them to 27.
Yeah, they did. They did
hold them to 27, which
they did.
Pretty impressive.
It was.
I really thought that score was going to be more like 48-37 or something like that.
Right.
You know, I really thought that score would be higher. I thought both schools, there would be more points scored, basically. Did that even cover the over-under? 36-27? I don't know if it did or not.
I don't even know what the over-under was in that one.
I bet you it didn't, because that's like 63. I bet it was more than that, the over-under.
Let's see. The line was the over-under was 78.5. It was 78.5. So that's 63 right there. And so 78.5. So it was under. Yeah. And the line was 16.5. Oregon 16.5. And like I said, we felt like it was going to be under that, or it was going to stay inside the number. Right. So,
well, it was 15 when we done it on Thursday.
Yeah,
that's what we done it.
Was 15, okay, 15.
Yeah. But that was on Thursday. We done the game day pick 'em.
So we got a couple. We got a couple things that came up. I know that we're going to talk right here. Let's go ahead and finish out with this one right here with Bo Nix. Bo Nix. 23-31, 412 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. I think he's only thrown 2 picks in the entire year. for the full year. I think that's his stats here. Let me actually I can tell you in just a second right here as I pull up his numbers. He has thrown 29 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He has a QBR of 87.3 on the full year right now. So he is he's got a C. That's for that game. So let's see his full year stats. He's thrown for 3,135 yards, 29 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, QBR of 87.3. I want to see what his completion percentage is for the year. I see what his completion percentage is.
If you ask me, Heisman is a 3-horse race. If you ask me,
yeah. Which ones?
Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., and Bo Nix.
Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., and Bo Nix. Now, here's a question. Can Jalen Milroe get into it?
I doubt it. I don't think so. I mean, in my opinion, the answer to that is no pretty quick.
Okay.
I just don't. I mean, I feel like that the Heisman, that you have to be on it and doing it the entire season. You can't start in week 4 or week 5 or whatever. I just, for me, I would say no, just simply because of that.
You can also prove the point that he is more valuable to his team than any of those 3. Because of the fact that
it's not,
because the one game that he didn't play, they played against a sorry team in USF, and
I don't think that's what the Heisman
had 0 offense in that game.
Well,
so,
I know that.
I'm just
I
throwing that out there.
The Heisman is, I mean, it's a glorified award, basically.
Right.
I mean, you know, like
here's my next question.
Now, if you want to say,
here's my next question, because there are some people on Twitter that are going off about the Heisman Award right now, talking about.
I actually think Marvin Harrison Jr. is getting in the picture a little bit.
Yeah. Actually, I was wondering why you omitted him, but yes, Marvin Harrison Jr. should be in the picture. He's got, I think, 914 yards receiving right now. He does have 3 games where he was left under 100 yards. Now, when he goes over 100 yards, he's like 130 to 160 as like his low, and he's gone up from there. But when he's held under 100 yards, he's under 50 yards receiving. And he's been held under 100 yards 3 times, with the high of those 3 games that were under 100 yards was 32 yards. I think it was 18 yards, 25 yards, and 32 yards, whereas 3 games. It was against Indiana, the first game of the season, Notre Dame, and Rutgers. There are 3 different games that have happened over the course of this season.
But he is playing in a game that he relies on a QB to get him the ball and throw to him and that kind of stuff.
Well, obviously.
And Ohio State, Ohio State was breaking in a brand new quarterback this year, and I think that affected some of his stats early on. But one of those games happened like last week.
So just throwing that out there. They're not all at the beginning of the year. One of them was more recent. Because it was the Notre Dame game.
Okay.
Well, one was Notre Dame, one was Rutgers. Rutgers was last week. So it was that one. So it was Rutgers, Notre Dame, and Indiana. Indiana and Notre Dame were early. Rutgers was again last week. So
all right. I'm going to get to the AP poll because I've got a couple of other things to get here. And we're at the 50-minute mark almost.
Well, I've had a lot to get off my chest.
Jerry, it is hard to get the award. It is hard to get the award as a receiver. That's the reason why I omitted him. I don't think that he will get it. I think it's.
But do you not think that he would at least go to New York? I think they would bring him to New York.
If you'll let me speak, I was just getting ready to say that. I think that it's possible that if they go to 3 or maybe 4 people, that he will get a spot to go, which I think now, John, it's in Vegas and not in New York anymore.
What?
I think it's actually in Vegas.
That's stupid. Anyway, the other thing about
sure
that,
last year,
the question that I had about the Heisman is could the Heisman winner come from a team that has 4 losses?
Again, we're talking about the Heisman, and my answer would be pretty quickly no. So
okay.
that, Jaden Daniels has 3 losses right now.
Correct.
So that may, I think that he could still be in it as long as they were to win out.
Because
but
Caleb Williams got
if they
4
take
losses.
Another loss. I don't think Caleb Williams is winning it this year. I really don't. It would not surprise me if he's not even in the top 3 or 4 to go.
And then who'd you say? Who were the other ones that you were saying? Sorry, you said Bo Nix, Daniels, and then who was the other one?
Michael Penix.
Okay, so Michael Penix has 0 losses,
and Harrison.
Harrison's got 0 losses, right? Yeah, they've got 0 losses.
Yeah, and so does no, Nix has got 1 loss.
Nix has 1 loss to Penix.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Nix has 1 loss. Daniels has 3. Yeah,
Georgia is number 1 for 22 weeks in a row. By the way, they have 54 votes this time, first place votes. Michigan is still number 2. Ohio State is 3. Florida State is 4. Washington 5. Oregon 6. Texas 7. And Alabama 8. The top 8 are unchanged for the second week in a row, by the way.
I have questions here. I have questions. And I could have brought this up last week or the week before, but I never did. But I just have a question. Why is Florida State 4 and Washington 5?
Because I think Florida State got up there early in the season because
Washington has better wins.
Absolutely. Washington, in my opinion, as far as the college football playoffs, should be ahead of Florida State, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because they have much better wins. The Pac-12 has got great teams, and they've been playing good teams almost every single week.
Yeah. Because Washington's best win is the number 6 team.
But Florida State is still ahead of them because Florida State jumped up there and had about 2 wins in the first 4 weeks that looked like, including the Clemson win at the time, that looked like they were good wins. You know what I mean? Like right up there, great wins, and, got up there first, basically.
They got up there the firstest with the mostest. Yep, I got it.
Louisville slides in at 9, and Oregon State is 10. Missouri is 11. Penn State is 12. Ole Miss is 13. Oklahoma 14. LSU 15. Utah is 16. Tulane comes in at 17. James Madison 18. Arizona is up to 19. They are
another Pac-12 team. Yes, they have. They're 7-3. They were 6-3, and then they won
7-3. Notre Dame is 20. Tennessee is 21. North Carolina 22. K-State is 23. Oklahoma State slides down to 24, and Liberty jumps in the poll, and they are still undefeated.
Whew. That is.
I'm trying to look to make sure that's right, but I'm pretty sure that Liberty is still undefeated.
Liberty is undefeated. They are 10-0.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. All right. College football playoff our landscape that we touch on every single week, I think it's down to basically those top 8 teams, basically.
Let's see. Let me go back into the top 8 of the AP poll.
I mean, Louisville still has a shot. They're at 9, so I'm not going to say.
I honestly don't think the ACC is strong enough to get in. That's why the ACC is the weakest of all the conferences. They're the weakest. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
You would agree. You would agree. Okay.
That's why I said I really don't think Louisville has a shot.
Right. So like the strongest conference is the Pac-12, right? Are they still the strongest in your opinion? You agree with that one?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Okay, so the Big Ten's got 4 teams that are worth a dang, and everybody else is pretty much hot trash, right? They have 4 teams that are good, and everybody else.
Already said that.
Yeah. So it's 4
It's
teams.
terrible.
They're all up here, and everybody else is way down here. Okay. The SEC is kind of a lot of mixed hodgepodge, right? They're kind of all over the place. You've got Georgia, who's really good, and they just flat out proved that, that they are really good. Went out there and just
and then you got a team like LSU that's got a fantastic offense, but their defense is really suspect.
I mean, they are the USC of the SEC. They are. And it just depends on if their offense can outscore.
Offense.
Right. So they've lost games to Alabama, Ole Miss, and Florida State. So their 3 losses have come to top 13 teams. 3 teams in the top 13.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So they're really good at beating, average teams and making those average teams look really bad. But the good teams are able to slow the offense down and have a decent enough offense of their own to run it with them, to hang with them. Florida State's got a good offense. Right. Ole Miss has a good offense. And Alabama's offense is, Alabama did it with their defense. They slowed them down. Now, they still were able to run it up and down on Alabama for about 3 quarters until Alabama knocked out the quarterback. But,
Alabama's offense is coming along, though. They really are.
It is. It's gotten better and better because of the fact that they have figured out who Jalen Milroe is and what he can do, and they have now changed their offense. They've now changed the offense to cater to him. Yes, and which that shows the sign of a good coaching staff that understands their players and then molds the team and the offense and whatever 100%. Around the players that they have. Unlike a few other coaches that have coached in our team's history.
Kentucky played Bama this week. So when I was watching the game, they actually said that they basically just in the last 3 weeks, if you went back 4 weeks ago, that they are basically running an entirely different offense than what they're running now.
Correct. Yes.
That's what they're saying.
A lot of players didn't exist.
Revamp the offense.
And they used, and again, the smart thing that they did, not only did they revamp it, but they brought in Jalen Milroe and they said, hey, tell us your best plays. Tell us the ones that we need to keep and get us the ones, tell us the ones that you're not very good at or that you don't like, and let's get rid of those. Let's just go ahead and get them out. We're not going to deal with them.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Some coaches don't have too much of an ego to want to do that. And you got, the greatest of all time sitting right there as the head coach. Now, he's the head coach. He's not necessarily the offense on anything like that, but he is the CEO of the whole thing, and he's allowing that to happen, and that's smart. It's why he is the greatest.
Right now, if you're telling me that I have to pick my top 4 right now, right now, my top 4 is going to be Georgia,
Yep.
the winner of Michigan, Ohio State.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
The winner of Michigan, Ohio State. I'm
Uh-huh.
going Washington.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm going Washington.
Okay.
All right. And, the Alabama's biggest nightmare is right in front of them,
Yes, it is.
because right in front of them is Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And their only loss was to Texas.
Yes.
So,
but their
I
loss
feel like
is
Oregon
better
and Washington.
than their loss is better than Texas's losses.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. I mean, by a little bit. I don't think
I know.
Oklahoma loss is tremendously worse than, but
Yeah.
I mean, by a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that by a little bit.
Right.
I think Oregon and Washington are going to knock each other out. I think Michigan and Ohio State are probably going to knock each other out, unless a couple of these teams start, we're down to like only one team that's got 0 losses.
So
Then we can start
if
talking
the
about
Big 12
some of
winner
these
is
other teams.
not Texas, if the Big 12 winner is not Texas, okay, that clears
They're
away
not in
that clears a team. Okay.
They're not in
Here's the
ACC, if it's not FSU, then the ACC does not have a chance to be in the top 4.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think if it's not
don't think
FSU,
either
they don't
one of
have a
those-
shot. It's got to be FSU or
Yeah,
nobody.
I mean, right, in the ACC.
And Alabama knocks off Georgia. They have the best win out of anybody. Okay, they'll have one loss, but they will have given a loss to Georgia, so they just basically take Georgia's spot. Now, here's the other thing here's another scenario
I don't think Georgia falls below 4, though. I really don't.
The loser of the Michigan Ohio State game, barring that the winner wins the Big Ten championship, which should happen.
A loss with Georgia, if you ask me.
Is what?
If Georgia loses to Bama, the loser of the Michigan Ohio State game will be below Georgia.
Yes, because Georgia played an extra game. They lost in a championship game as opposed to losing in the regular season and then not playing in said championship game because the winner went and played in it. Okay, so you've got to reward the winner for winning that game, but you got to reward Georgia for getting to that game undefeated and then losing in that game as opposed to losing in the regular season and then reaping the benefits because somebody lost in their championship game. So,
right.
Because this is going to be a mind. There's going to be 2 teams that are probably going to be pissed off. There's going to be about 2 or 3 teams that are going to be pissed off this year. So, just throwing that out there.
I think there's going to be 2 or 3 teams.
Yeah. Well, look. The loser,
maybe 4.
If the loser of the Oregon-Washington Pac-12 championship game is Washington, then you're going to have.
They're both 1 loss,
and they're to each other, right?
Yeah, right.
So, look, if the losses, if Oregon gets beat by Washington again, then Oregon's out. They're just out. So they don't have a pot to piss in. They couldn't beat the team that they needed to beat to get into it. They didn't. They're not in it. But if they beat Washington, then they have then both teams
if Washington
have a
wins
shot
out and beat Oregon. They're in.
Yeah. They win out and beat Oregon. They're in.
They're
I feel
in.
like that they are in. They should be the 3 team, and the 1 team should be Georgia. If Georgia gets in, the 2 teams should be the winner of the Michigan Ohio State game, because once they, if they win their championship, they're the 2 team. Washington's the 3, and 4 is either undefeated Florida State, 1 loss Texas, or you get into the 1 loss Bama, 1 loss Oregon.
Alabama beats Georgia.
Yeah. Alabama beats Georgia. Georgia's in there. Then the 1 loss Georgia is the 4 team. I mean, I think that's what would happen. Georgia's the 4, and they basically screw Florida State. I mean, I'm throwing it out there. They're going to screw Florida State.
Yeah, probably so. Even if Florida State is undefeated, you're probably right. Yeah. Georgia's
and they screw the 1 loss Texas. And they screw the 1 loss Texas.
Because Texas beat them. So Texas would really be mad.
Now, what would really throw everybody
have a legit argument.
Now, here's the thing that would really throw everything off. Okay, here's a scenario that would really piss everybody off. Here we go. Bama beats Georgia in the SEC title game. Okay, Bama wins. They're a 1-loss team with the SEC title. Okay, they are the 2. Okay. All right. The winner of the Michigan Ohio State game, they win their championship. They're the 1. Okay, they're 1. They're undefeated. They've won a championship. They're in. They're number 1. 2 is Bama, right? 3.
Maybe Washington if Washington's going out.
But what if Oregon beats Washington? Now you have a 1 loss. Now you have a 1 loss Oregon champion, right? You have a 1 loss Georgia not champion. You have a 1 loss. You have a 1 loss Texas champion, right? A 1 loss whoever the loser of the Michigan Ohio State game non-champion, right?
Yeah, and Washington.
Who's going to be a 1 loss non-champion. Okay, so now you're going to have all these teams. So here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. The 1 loss champions are going to get in. You'll have Florida State that gets in and Texas. It'll be Florida State and Texas, because Florida State will be undefeated unless Florida State loses. Then they're out, and it becomes Texas gets in because they're a 1 loss champion. They will take the champion over a non-champion. Okay, so Texas would get in, and then the question is Washington, right? Georgia, or loser of Michigan, Ohio State. Those would be your 3 teams that would be battling it out for the 4 spot. Who gets in if that's the case?
I know this could get when you look at it, these 8 or 9 schools, like this could get really, really messy.
Yeah,
Jerry's here saying, this could be a mess by selection day. This could get really, really messy because these are top-notch schools that have done it all year long, and we're at week 12 going to be coming up, and
going to start laughing a lot.
It's going to get messy, I think. There's going to be at least 2, if not 3 of these teams that are going to be just livid.
Denied
when this is all said and done.
Yes. I'm going to write down this scenario because I'm going to go ahead and start posting it because I want this scenario to happen. Unbelievable. That's what will happen. So you would have a undefeated Michigan, Ohio State would be number 1. 1 loss Bama would be number 2. Okay, because again, Bama would be the champion at that point. Okay,
Champion.
right.
Yeah.
Texas, one-loss champion. Oregon,
3,
one-loss champion.
Georgia, the 4.
And Oregon, one-loss champion. It's actually that's how it works. That's what happens. The other ones are all one-loss non-champions. They're not going to win. They're not getting in. That's it.
Do you think Georgia would get left out?
They would have to. They would have to get left out.
Very interesting.
But then there's no three-peat. No three-peat at that point.
Yeah. Well,
Auburn blew up the three-peat. Yeah. Auburn blew up the three-peat by having the kick six. So I'm just saying.
We're going to move to our good, the bad, the ugly. I'm going to try to wrap this up pretty quick. College basketball's in effect. This started this week. I'm going to start throwing some of that in here. We're going to cut some of this and start some college basketball stuff. I had one or two things, but we're running short on time. So let's get to our good, the bad, and the ugly for week 11. Okay. John, what do you think is the good?
Okay, so on my good, and it's going to be basically everything that we've highlighted with these Heisman Trophy candidates, because every one of them had like hell of a game. So you've got Jaden Daniels with 606 yards total. That's awesome. Okay, yes. Schrader goes out there and has 200 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving. Okay, unbelievable, right? Marvin Harrison has three touchdowns. He had 150 yards receiving. He's over 900 yards receiving. He's going to go over 1,000 next week. Okay. Like all of those. And Bo Nix goes out and throws for over 400 yards in the nightcap. So right. Yeah. So all of that. And I really just want to say, I mean, that started at 11 o'clock with the Michigan game going all the way through the Oregon USC game. And I mean, really if you stayed up and watched the Hawaii game, then, God bless you. But through the Oregon USC game, I mean, Saturday was just good. That was the good. You had games all throughout the day.
You've named them all. So, I mean, if I had to pick one of those, I honestly, you almost have to pick Jaden Daniels' performance.
Correct. And it was like they were all building on each other too.
Yeah. I mean, listen, what Schrader did at Missouri was awesome too. And I'm not going to say that it wasn't, but I mean, I'm serious when I'm saying if you catch a rerun of the LSU Florida game, watch it this week just to watch Jaden Daniels' performance. I'm not sure that you will have ever seen a performance in college football, period, like Jaden Daniels had yesterday.
Oh yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. The bad this week, what do you think is your bad?
Okay, so to really kind of get between the bad and the ugly, I'm going to choose the bad right now, and that is the interpretation of the targeting rule. Okay, and I'm really going to be focused on just the LSU games between this week and last week. Okay, you had a guy that absolutely obliterated Jaden Daniels, had him in concussion protocol all week, where he didn't really practice until Thursday, and that was non-contact. Okay. And then Friday's just just like a walkthrough. So there was really no contact all week with Jaden Daniels because he had been in concussion protocol. All right. And Dallas Turner, and look, that was not called, and they didn't stop it on the field to review it. Now, doesn't mean it wasn't reviewed, because I think it was reviewed. They just didn't stop the play on the field to review it. And mainly because they had enough time, because Jaden Daniels was hurt. And so they were able to review it while the medical staff was checking out Jaden Daniels. Okay. So now
it makes sense. Yeah.
Then this week, did you see their guy get kicked out for targeting?
I did not see the play live.
Okay.
When it happened.
Okay, so here's what happened. Running back
I've
comes
seen a clip of.
Yeah, running back comes up the middle, lowers his shoulder. I mean, he gets real low and he shrinks the strike zone of where you can hit him. In fact, he shrinks it so much that it goes basically knee to shoulder. All right. There is no strike zone to hit on a running back. So when you are going down to go hit him, you are also lowering your shoulder and your head to hit not a defenseless player, because a running back is not defenseless. Okay. When he is coming right at you and lowering his shoulder to hit you, and you don't have the ability to lower your shoulder to hit him. Okay. And yes, the helmets will hit each other. Even if you're aiming at the shoulder, there's a good chance that the helmets are going to collide. Okay.
Right.
And again, he did not launch as a missile. He did not use the crown of his helmet to hit, the running back. The running back lowered his helmet to hit, the linebacker, but nothing's called on the running back for doing that. And so throwing the LSU player out this week and not throwing the Alabama player out last week is just absolute garbage. Now, to me, honestly, I would have allowed the Dallas Turner hit. I would have called it roughing the passer. I would not have called targeting on that one anyway, while it looked more like targeting than anything else. Okay. I would have just called it roughing the passer and moved on. Okay. I wouldn't have kicked Dallas Turner out of the game, but I sure as hell would not have kicked out the LSU player for the hit that he made on the run on the Florida run.
To kind of go with that Dallas Turner hit, from last week. So Kentucky played Alabama this week. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a play where there was two guys coming at Leary. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Leary got rid of the ball.
Yep.
Right as they were coming. Okay. But one hit him low, and the other guy literally used the crown of his helmet while the other guy was hitting him low, and literally hit head to head and just headbutted him while the other guy hit him low and knocked him to the ground. Now, they did throw a flag and call roughing the passer, but they actually called, when they were making the call on the field, they actually called roughing the passer with leading with your helmet. Now, how the hell is that not targeting?
So I guess they would have felt that it wasn't the crown, even though you're telling me that it was the crown. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. And I have no other way. I have no other explanation to give you for that. Yeah. I can't explain that.
They actually called roughing the passer leading with his helmet.
Yeah, that's why this is my bad, because there are so many different plays. Now, Auburn had a game. Auburn had a guy. Yeah. So Auburn had a guy that was, or it wasn't Auburn, it was Arkansas had a guy that was thrown out for targeting because he hit an Auburn player, 5-6 steps out of bounds. It's definitely 100% a late hit. Comes in and absolutely launches from the side. It's a blindside hit and goes helmet to helmet on the side of the head. Okay. Leads with the crown, hits the side of the head, knocks the guy, decleats him, knocks him, right on his rear end. In fact, to a point where I thought he was going to be concussed, because I thought the back of his head was going to hit the ground too. So he was going to have been hit up here while running and then hit the back of the head. I don't know if he actually did hit the back of the head, because he came back into the game. He apparently was fine. I haven't heard of anything of him being concussed, but he played and did not go into concussion protocol after that. But that was one of those incidences like, you got to be kidding me. Now, they called targeting, and they kicked the kid out. That, to me, was targeting. He came blindside. The guy was clearly out of bounds. So he is a defenseless runner when he gets hit from the side like that. So that right there is defenseless,
Right.
and he's out of bounds. So he's also defenseless because he's assuming the play is over.
None of this stuff is clear the way they
so
call things
like
anymore.
that's targeting. The Dallas Turner hit is borderline targeting, but whatever happened, Saturday against LSU and the LSU Florida game was not targeting, but they kicked that guy out. So
all right.
I don't understand.
Yeah,
That's my bad. That's my bad for this week.
It's never consistent. It really is.
Yes.
It's never.
Correct.
So what's your ugly?
My ugly. I guess I have to go with Arkansas, right? Just that's ugly.
Yeah,
that was ugly.
Right. That was pretty.
I don't have any other. Like, I'm still kind of thinking about it, and Arkansas was ugly.
Yeah, I almost have to agree with you. When I was going through the stuff, I said, that's just like, you can't do that at home. That was pretty darn ugly.
Exactly.
Say,
you would have thought that Malzahn was the head coach of Auburn going into Arkansas and beating them like that, because that was Malzahn's thing. He would go in there and just beat the ever loving crap out of Arkansas, because that was his thing. His thing was to go in and beat them and make them look bad doing it. Okay. We could be really bad every other game, but it was almost like that was his goal of the season. I'm going to kick the crap out of Arkansas. Everything else is just gravy. And he went in and he kicked the crap out of Arkansas. So,
yeah.
What's yours?
But Jerry says Tennessee was ugly. I'm going to be honest with you, Jerry. I was watching other games.
Yeah.
And I really didn't watch a whole lot of the Missouri-Tennessee game, but the score itself was pretty shocking.
Yeah. If I had a sixth screen in the afternoon, the Tennessee game was going to be the sixth one. But I was watching, I had 4 games that were ESPN, ABC going on the TV. And then my computer, I had the Washington Utah game. And now I was actually flipping back and forth between the Washington Utah and the Tennessee game. So I did have the Tennessee game going. I just wish I had a 6th screen and I would have had the Tennessee game like side by side right there, and it would have been there, and I would have probably paid a little bit more attention to what was going on. But no, I did not actually see it.
Tennessee was ugly. 7 points with the Josh Heupel team is pretty abysmal. I'm not gonna that is pretty ugly, to be quite honest with you. So I'll give you that, Jerry. Following along, he's been with us a lot lately, so that's a good point there. And he's made some good points along the way. So all right, so the look ahead. I'm going to start out by saying this week in college basketball is the State Farm Champions Classic. It's played on Tuesday night. There is Duke versus Michigan and Kansas versus Kentucky on Tuesday night. It's in the United Center in Chicago. And both of these games, these are top-notch teams, of course, in college basketball. And both of these games should be really, really good games. There's many other good games this week in college basketball. There's a couple tomorrow night, on Monday night. Tuesday night is loaded with some good games. There's more than just the State Farm Classic. So I'll start with that. But in football, in Week 12 next week, we have Georgia goes to Tennessee. These are ranked matchups, ones I'm telling you. Georgia goes to Tennessee. Washington goes to Oregon State. And I'm trying to think. They're both ranked inside the top 10. This is going to be a top 10 matchup.
Washington, that one's on
The
Friday
last
night, I
time that
believe.
they
Nope,
last
never
time
mind.
that these two teams played with where both teams were ranked was in 2000.
Oh wow. Oregon State's
was the
Friday.
last time.
Sorry, I was thinking that's the following week.
And then a top 20 matchup in the Pac-12 next week is going to be number 16 Utah at number 19 Arizona.
Yep.
So those are the three. There's 3 ranked versus ranked games next week. And John, you can kind of run through a few games and head out of here for the week.
In all honesty, this week right here, being the week before Thanksgiving, the week before rivalry week, is generally lettuce games. So what you see is the SEC plays a lot of non-conference, group of 5 FCS opponents in that, at that point, of the season. It's kind of a get right games and stuff like that. So a game to, some of the games here to kind of pay attention to, Louisville and Miami. That's a game to kind of look at, watch that one. That one will be at 11 o'clock in the morning. That will be going head to head with the Oregon.
I think they lock up.
Huh? Yeah. So
I think
Oregon.
I think they locked up the 6th spot.
Oregon and Arizona State is also going to be played. They don't have the time yet on this one. I think this is either going to be. I think they were waiting on the Utah, Arizona, Oregon, Arizona State, or haven't been decided as far as their times, but those 2 games there, along with the Louisville Miami game, which is an 11 o'clock kick, those are ones to pay attention to. Outside of that, I'm trying to see if there's anything that's another one. SMU Memphis. I think that one will be a good one to pay attention to. They're both 8-2.
Right.
But that one will be that will be a good one to watch, or at least keep an eye on. And beyond that, I mean, if you really want to have the gouge your eyes out game, Iowa, Illinois. I mean, that'll be brutal. I don't know what that I don't know what that line. Oh, I don't know what the over under.
Pay attention to.
Yeah, I don't know what the over under on that game is, but that will be that should be pretty low. Let's see, North Carolina, Clemson, because I think Clemson has a shot to take North Carolina out in this one.
They do.
USC, UCLA.
I think.
Yep. USC, UCLA. That one's is a good one. That'll be a 2:30 ABC kick. All time Central. Anything that I name is Central Time Zone.
USC have 4 losses now.
Say what?
They do.
USC
has 4 losses now.
USC and UCLA both have 4 losses. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
And then
that's kind of our look ahead for week 12. Actually, I can't believe this season is this far along already.
The battle of
our next show, guys, is going to be Tuesday. I got to wrap this up. We're going to go off the air on the TV side. So we've been on for an hour and a half.
Yep.
All right. So our next show is Tuesday, the Big Fuss Show. You can check us out on the 14th at 8 o'clock. On the bottom of the screen, the whole show, you hopefully have seen our home field.
Got one right here.
Apparel and all the cool retro stuff. that we have available now. Check them out. Go to homefieldapparel.com and use our code CSCast to save 15% off your first purchase. I have over 180 design teams, and check them out, guys. All right. We will see you guys on Tuesday. This has been College SportsCast, the weekend wrap-up show.